Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the Lakers play the Grizzlies tonight. Grizzlies in Memphis, and of course, we don't have Braun, who we're expecting to be out for a million years with a foot. We already know it's not going to be something that's going to be a short situation, so we're just going to brace ourselves for whatever the news will be. Uh, D'Angelo Russell with the ankle, we expect him to miss tonight's game, and he'll be day to day going forward, from what I believe was the last I heard there. So this is what it is. Memphis Grizzlies. I did some homework on them, as I try to do with most of the teams we play, and watched the highlights of their last four games. The last game they played in was against the Denver Nuggets, where they really caught the Denver Nuggets slipping. Uh, I think, judging from what I saw, to be honest with you guys, it just seemed like the Nuggets weren't able to identify uh, just the stellar 3-point shooting, or rather the stop. They couldn't stop Luke Kennard and Tyus Jones from hitting threes off of the bench. Those guys went for multiple threes and really gave them the bulk of the scoring that they needed to get that lead. Um, when you couple that with Xavier Tillman, who had like a plus 25, led the whole team in plus 25 with 6 for 6 shooting, and from what I understand, in listening to, I think it was Kenny Farrell who was talking about Xavier Tillman, I think he's just been displaying a great deal of basketball intangibles and things like that, fighting around screens and stuff like that, showing a high level to defend. So I'm not surprised. I saw him break out last year, and we mentioned him on this channel a little bit when he started really popping off the screen for Memphis. And since Steven Adams is out, there's an opportunity for him to really play some real minutes at center. So he's getting that and playing really well next to Jaren Jackson. Those guys are defending the paint very well and rebounding and doing all the stuff necessary to give them that front court help. So we know we'll have our hands full tonight with those guys. You got to consider, obviously, the other players that the Memphis Grizzlies are sitting on, which are a lot of talented guys. Obviously, you're talking about John Morant, one of the best players in the world, offensive talent that can just flat out do some of the best stuff you ever see, jumping out of the gym, creating plays for others, just out of this world athleticism. He's an alien, and it is what it is. You expect some significant highlights tonight from him. Watching the highlights of the Celtics game, his third quarter in that Celtics matchup was really good, even though they lost the game. Some of the playmaking and stuff that he was doing in that game was just stellar, man. It stood out amongst the footage that I watched. So we just got to watch out for John Morant, whose game is continuing to grow. And I would imagine we'll see an opportunity to really flex tonight, because the matchup is just not great. Trying to defend him. That's one of the things the Lakers are going to have to figure out, is how we're going to defend dynamic point guards. We got rid of Patrick Beverly, Russell Westbrook, so we're definitely going to have to match these guys. D'Angelo obviously is not a defender like that, plus he won't be on the floor. So Dennis Schroeder played some fantastic defense in the previous game against Kyrie Irving. He's going to do the same thing tonight against John Morant, and so that'll be the task. Simply put, he's the guy with the fast enough feet to stay in front of him. He's the guy who's going to have to give us that on the defensive end. So we'll be looking for it. Continuing in regards to the Memphis Grizzlies, they had a game against the Philadelphia 76ers. They had a 17-point lead and blew it. Blew it in Philly. You just got to give credit to all of the players on the Philadelphia 76ers. PJ Tucker, James Harden hitting big shots, Joel Embiid rebounding the ball and dunking and doing all the stuff that Joel does. Even though you got to give Jaren Jackson credit for the block that he had on Joel Embiid that I won't soon forget. It was a spectacular one. But all in all, 17-point deficit coughed up, against a Philadelphia 76ers team that's known for doing the same thing. And so the Philly has seen plenty of games where they've coughed up leads and seen people cough up leads against them, because we've had our share against Philly as well. So that was a matchup that stood out to me. Of course, there was another game as well. Who they play, man? The Memphis Grizzlies played the Utah Jazz, and that was a very specific matchup in the sense that they forced 24 turnovers on the Jazz, giving up 40 points off those turnovers. So those are stats you don't see very often. We got to not turn the ball over against this team. I believe it was 13 steals forced. So, quite a few of them were unforced, but it's the Jazz, so whatever. But the point is, Memphis can get into the passing lanes. They can get steals. They can make life hard on you playing defense, obviously with Jaren Jackson and Dillon Brooks and those guys. They play D. So that's something that stood out. And another thing that had nothing to do with Memphis was, man, Utah Jazz got a bunch of Lakers on that team. It was like watching us because we had THT, JTA, Jordan Clarkson, Damian Jones, all on the floor at the same time. And I'm just sitting there like, what am I watching? An old Laker game? It's an old Laker matchup. But anyway, nevertheless, it was a result like an old Laker matchup because they got beat pretty handily by the Memphis Grizzlies. So that's pretty much the end of that, man. At the end of the day, Memphis has been hot and cold as of late. There was a matchup they had against the Minnesota Timberwolves prior to the game against the Celtics, where they had a win there. I didn't see any highlights of that, but it's one of those situations where you got to understand. Since making the trade for a guy like Luke Kennard, they've just gotten significantly more capable of hitting threes. They were already a solid three-point shooting team with a guy like Desmond Bane, who I call Buff Reggie Miller, who missed some of the season with injury and was trying to come back, basically work his conditioning back into the equation, and now has it. So I expect for him to be a dangerous player, although his three-point shot has come and gone in these games that I've been seeing highlights of. Dylan Brooks, much has been said about how he's been just going around causing ruckus. He's got a reputation for being a tough guy, for being a hard case. And, the Memphis Grizzlies obviously have their own, reputation as a team that's very cocky and very confident. So as we continue to be aware of what it is that they're about, we just know we got an environment that we're going to have to deal with as Los Angeles Lakers tonight. It ain't going to be easy. Obviously, we remember the last matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies where Shannon Sharp got into it with Ja's dad, and they ended up piecing it up, making it all good at the end of the night. But that little moment turned into something that we know we haven't forgotten. And not only that, but the Memphis Grizzlies went on to struggle quite a bit after that and are just now starting to pick up the pieces and finding their way. In fact, I'd say the best win they've had was the game they're coming off of against Denver, where they had that double-digit win. And were able to get some guys involved who normally don't get to play very much, like David Roddy and Lofton Jr., players that I don't expect to see, but players that can hurt you if they get on the floor. So know that. I look at guys like Zaldana, LaRavia. They have a very deep team of guys who have yet to prove themselves, but guys who have shown enough to know you had better guard them. As we've said, Tyus Jones, Luke Kennard. This team is extremely deep. Zaire Williams is back. He got a few minutes in the last game in garbage time. We know he's a regular rotation player coming back from injury. We thought they may trade him. They didn't. So he's one of those guys that's just sitting on their bench waiting for an opportunity to explode and remind everybody that he should not be that far down anybody's bench in this league at this point. So Zaire Williams, I don't know what type of role he will have tonight, if any, but he's better. Way better than the role that he has at this point. And I just imagine that his health is going to determine how much minutes he gets going forward, I think. You look at guys that they have on their bench. At the end of the day, as I say, Santi Aldama, I believe is his name. It's one of those players I've been asking the Lakers to target ever since I became aware of his ability to stretch the floor as a backup power forward. He's just a really intriguing stretch forward to me who can do a lot of intangible things. I've seen him look good in the open court and stuff like that. Really intriguing prospect that they got over there in Memphis, and I expect for him to have some minutes and do a little damage tonight if given an opportunity to. There's another guy too. It's him, Saldana, and another guy that's not coming to mind, but it will in a minute. But he's also stretching the floor for them and playing some fantastic minutes off the bench. God, Conchar, that's his name. John Conchar is another dude that they're using in pretty heavy rotation as of right now that we will likely see tonight play for the Memphis Grizzlies. So Conchar, Saldama, Tillman, Williams, Roddy, Lofton, all of these dudes can ball, man. Every single one of them. This is a very, very good team, just like ours in regards to their scouts and what they're able to find in the second round and stuff like that. This is one of the best teams in the league for that, just like us. So you do expect that you're going to have to deal with them. And then because of it, it's going to be a hard game for us, man. Even though we have a deep team, we love our roster. Even without Bron, even without D'Angelo, we feel like we can do a hell of a lot of damage to a lot of teams. But as of today, as it pertains to the matchups, this is one of those teams on paper that we really don't have an advantage against. We match up well with them, but we don't necessarily have an advantage. So I just think that they're probably built to take advantage of us without two of our biggest players. Now, the good thing is I think the ultimate thing that I think the Lakers lean their hat on, I guess you could say, as it pertains to winning basketball games with the new unit, is the defensive ability of an Anthony Davis, Jared Vanderbilt, the length that the Lakers provide themselves with the ability to put Rui Hachimura on the floor, Troy Brown, having that down there with Anthony Davis, Mo Bamba, Wenyen Gabriel. If you ask me, that's where the Lakers are going to be able to still win basketball games in this league without LeBron James. It's leaning on those lengthy guys to just basically do all the offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, keep guys out of our paint, and more or less turn teams into three-point shooting teams only. If we can continue to establish our dominance defending the paint, I still think that same games that we were trying to win against LeBron, we can win without him. I really believe that because I don't think he affected winning and losing that much. He affected scoring. He affected the ability to keep score on the board and the ability to have high IQ on the floor when he's out there. You can count on scoring the ball. You can count on rebounding the ball. You can count on guys being able to find ways of getting the ball themselves by him passing it to them. But defensively, hit or miss. Sometimes, especially the perimeter defense. We weren't a better perimeter defensive team a lot of time he was on the floor. We weren't often a better three-point shooting team when he was on the floor, depending on how he was shooting. And as of late, he ain't been shooting well. So certain things that he brings to the lineup are not as a necessity as of right now. After making the trade, you need him for a lot of things, including being somebody to strategize against in the playoffs. But as far as like your day-to-day in the regular season to help you win basketball games, that's what he does. But you don't need him to win those games. You need other things that you still have right now to win. Essentially, those are the things that are going to determine whether you win or lose. Put it like this: if you remove Vanderbilt and AD and you bring Bron James back in this situation, we're not going to win none of them games. He's just going to be down there trying his best to win, and we're going to lose, and he's going to be scoring, he's going to be frustrated. But you remove him and you keep Vanderbilt, AD, and you're going to still win, because those are the things, in my humble opinion, that are going to be the difference between the teams beating us and not beating us. And I think we're structured to be that. I think he wanted a team that didn't lean on him winning or losing. I think every team he's ever played on has been leaning on him winning and losing, and it's time for him to not have that responsibility. It's time for the team that harbors him to not have him have that responsibility, and I think that's what we built this team to be. We knew he wasn't going to be around, and so that's what this team is built to be. And not only that, but I do think this team is also built for Anthony Davis without LeBron James. In other words, in my head, I see some world where they told Anthony Davis, I got you. Even if Bron ain't here, we've built a team that you should be able to drag to the playoffs if for some reason he goes down for the season. I think that's what this is. I think the pieces are in place to still be able to get him the ball, for him to take 1,000,000 shots, for him to be able to ultimately have a running mate next to him like Vanderbilt. I should be able to make his weak side situation always perfect. He's going to play perfect defense. Vando's going to play perfect defense. He's going to be an offensive talent that could score 1,000,000 points in theory, along with guys like Lonnie, Austin, Malik, who should be able to hold down the scoring. Schroeder, those guys can score. There should be no reason why, if we don't lean on those guys for 30 minutes, they can't walk away with 20-plus points, all of them. And so given the fact that we had a game just a few nights ago where we had 8 players in double figures, and LeBron James had like 13 points, and we walked out of there with a double-digit win against the champs, no Steph Curry, no Wiggins, but no problem. You see what I'm saying? And so that's one of those situations where, and no D'Angelo Russell. We went down the first quarter of that game. So that's the team that I think we're going to bring into Memphis tonight. And if that's the case, that's still 6 players that they have to deal with, or 7 players in double figures, if everybody plays the way they're supposed to. And so that's what it really comes down to. Are we going to be more like that team against Golden State, against this very good Memphis team who's fully healthy, minus the center that they have, Steven Adams? Or are we going to be the team like Dallas, like we came in with Dallas in the first half and ultimately not be able to throw anything in the hoop because we were shooting 21% in the first quarter? Is that who this team is without LeBron James? But he was on the floor for that. In fact, he was the only guy scoring. Him and AD were the only guys scoring in the first half while everybody else was bricking. So you have to wonder what type of team offensively are we going to be tonight? Without LeBron James, are we going to be one of those teams that has trouble scoring in long stretches of a time? That's my question. Or was that just a reflection of us leaning on Malik Beasley too much and him bricking everything in that game, which is what I think that was. But then when you look at everybody else who was shooting, they were missing 2 in that first half. So we got 5 of 8 out of 80 in the first half. If he's continuing to look to score and not only attempting 5 shots like he did against Golden State, we should be able to weather whatever scoring drought issues may be present without D'Angelo Russell and LeBron James. But it's going to be on Anthony Davis to absorb that defense that's going to be focused on him even more so and still be able to help us with that if those guys are cold. And so it's going to be on him. It's going to be on him. Now's the time. Like I said, he has a running mate defensively that should make it so that he never has any problems. And that's the difference between what he has now and any other time he's been with the Lakers. He ain't never had a defensive running mate. You know what I mean? And now he has it. So, yeah, the team was built around Bron to make sure Bron's timeline was straight. But they had a whole AD they needed to make assurances to. And judging by what I'm seeing with the roster, it sounds like those assurances were made and delivered upon. So he should have a team that he can lead to the playoffs without LeBron James. The team should be built for that. And he's a damn superstar. And I know the ESPN and everybody and all the big networks are essentially telling you the Lakers are falling off a cliff because LeBron ain't there. And what I'm telling you is AD should take that personally. I was listening to Locked On Grizzlies this morning. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but a good 15 minutes. And the guy that was on there, he was just essentially saying that, Lakers are a solid team, but without LeBron James, without D'Angelo Russell, the luster's been taken from this game. Essentially, they should just be able to roll us over. That was his point of view. Like, we got some good players. He respected our guys, but, they feel like this ain't no real game for them now that Bron and D'Angelo's out. And I'm sitting here saying, boy, did they not watch what Anthony Davis did during the meat and potatoes of the first half of the season? Did they not see the stretch where he was going for 50 and 20 and 3 blocks in the same game? Like, if I'm him, that's the intensity I'm bringing to them based on that energy that I saw on Locked On Grizz. You don't get to have that type of cockiness when you ain't won no championship. You ain't got no championship. Memphis Grizzlies. But they got the mentality that they know how to do things that they've never done. They think they can walk in situations against champions, people who've won the championship, and feel they can beat them just because of who they are, even though they ain't done nothing. And so that's the problem with the Memphis Grizzlies. That's the problem that everybody has with the Memphis Grizzlies. They're oblivious to what it actually means to have the respect that they have for themselves. They think they're the greatest thing ever, except for the fact that they haven't even experienced what it feels like to win and actually be that. But they cocky. So it's like, this is a team that everybody wants to see lose. Them and Phoenix. Memphis and Phoenix are the 2 teams that everybody just understands they got a chip on their shoulder and a certain level of respect and cockiness that they have for themselves that they ain't earned from no one else. Nobody else. You know what I mean? It's like they think they champions except for they ain't got no Larry O to show for it. So that's the chip on the shoulder that I'm bringing into this game. They real cocky thinking that just because Bron ain't down there and because D'Angelo ain't out there, that they still ain't got massive problems dealing with us. Anthony Davis, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley are a massive problem for the Memphis Grizzlies, who's had trouble against Philly, of whom we had opportunities to beat, but just didn't play smart enough to beat in both of the games we played against Philly. But we know we should have won those games. We know we should have won those games with Russell Westbrook and JTA and Damian Jones. We should have won those games. So the fact that they just had trouble with that team, blew a 17-point lead against them. Utah, who has a bunch of players that we won with, had games where we won with these guys, and they had their issues with them during meat and potatoes of that game, watching THT dunking all over Jaren Jackson. Like, these are the type of things that just help me understand that Memphis is still a team that's developing in their maturity. Like, they're not real champs. They believe they're champs, and they think that because they have a certain level of talent and a certain level of buzz around their city, that they just inevitably are going to waltz into success. And what I'm telling you is that is always the energy that comes with failure. Like, that is what comes with failure. You asking for it when you're that way. And without Steven Adams, I do believe that Jaren Jackson and Xavier Tillman and Zalti Aldana and all these other guys that they got are going to have their hands full with our front court, especially if we're not hesitant to play Bamba and Winyon. If you play Bamba, Winyon, AD, and Vanderbilt in a nice steady rotation in that 5 and that 4 matchup with that position. If you play them the 5 and the 4, just give them a good 25 minutes apiece. Just rotate them dudes. Every once in a while, slide one of them to the 3 just for a couple seconds and then move away from that. Put Rui Hachimura at the 3 most of the time because we hate Rui Hachimura at the 4 anyway. The numbers tell us that even though he's a big body who's slower, for whatever reason, he's a terrible 4. So play him at the 3 anyway. It makes even more sense because it allows us more reasons to play those guys. Move, with all due respect, Troy Brown, move him out the side. You know why? Because as much as I like Troy, he is too inconsistent offensively. We have too much where he's just jogging. It's too much jogging, man. And when he's playing well, he's rebounding. The problem is, you put him out there with Vanderbilt and AD, he ain't going to rebound them dudes. He's going to be going for the same boards they go for. He's not going to get the board. So you got to put him on the floor where rebounding is needed. And in the situation what we got right now, if you're playing the way I'm saying you're playing with Bamba and Vanderbilt, AD, and Winion, you never rebounding because they're going to take care of that. So it's one of those things where it's like I can move Troy out the way. What we're doing to Lonnie, we can kind of do to Troy. Move up Austin, right? Move up. And this is what you got to do. See if Devon Reed can really lock people down, man, because I think we might be missing an opportunity at some real perimeter defense and some real dynamic defensive talent just by thinking that just because he ain't got a name that he can't ball. It's a mistake that I think we're doing with Mo Bamba as well. I've been following Mo Bamba well enough to know that if you give him 30 minutes, he's going to walk out of there with a double-double and probably 3 or 4 blocks. It's going to happen. His length alone going to get you the blocks. So it's one of them situations where it's like, I know he's a jump shooter. I know he can be a little, lacking in motivation. Where's his head at? I don't know. But a lot of that has to come with not having people lean on him to be responsible for nothing. So he gets used to not really having responsibilities. He's been in Orlando. They don't care about winning very much. Now you bring him to LA, you tell him, hey, we need you to get it right. I'm sure he'll get it right. You know what I'm saying? This was somebody who was drafted, 8th overall in the draft 4 years ago? 3 years ago? He will get it right. We just got to lean on him and stop treating him like his name is Damian Jones. He ain't Damian Jones. You know what I'm saying? So they got a whole rap song named after this dude. He can ball some. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he got 5 minutes in the last game. No, not when AD has the issues health-wise that he has. We need that depth to keep AD healthy. And most importantly, the length. The length, my friends. When AD is sitting down, you got a whole 7-footer with a 7'9", 7'8" wingspan down there just waving his arms, ready to shoot threes. I mean, if that ain't what the Lakers need, I don't know what is. So I just want our coach to not be so hell-bent, and I know he thinks it's a guard-oriented league, even though it's really not. It's actually a lengthy forward three-point shooting perimeter defense league, interior defense league. And if you don't have all of those things, you lost. It ain't no guards league. You think you're going to run around with a bunch of Allen Iversons and Stephon Marburys in today's era? You think that's going to be enough for you, man? You better look around. You're going to see tonight. Jaren Jackson going to make sure you know you don't win that way. You can't win that way. Luckily enough, our GM understood that, and that's why we have a roster that makes sense for what it is the era is. We just need our coach to grab a hold. Grab a hold, man. Hell, even if it takes Rob Pelinka explaining to coach what his intentions was and putting certain players on the roster so he knows how to use them based on the vision, that maybe needs to be a conversation that needs to be had. Like, for me, I know that conversation don't need to be had with myself, because that's what my brain does that. I can see exactly what the team is supposed to do. Just based on the tendencies of the players that I understand, I got to understand what the team is going to look like for the most part. But maybe that's not Darvin's thing. Maybe he needs this. We put this guy on the team because he allowed you to let this guy have a little more of this and this guy. That's what it is. Bamba's supposed to help AD stay healthy. You play him a good 15 minutes a night. Take that away from AD's minutes. That's what the purpose is. You keep him next to Vanderbilt, AD can sit down for 2-3 games at a time. And you got the length necessary to keep Bron and Beasley and D'Angelo in a position to score as much as necessary. Austin, those guys are going to score. Austin Reeves, you give him enough minutes over the next 2 weeks while Bron is out, he's going to show you he's one of them dudes. We don't have to worry. That's why I'm not worried about where the production's coming from, because I know he's going to make it. He's going to make it happen. Lonnie's going to make it happen. Dennis Schroeder, those guys are going to score. I ain't worried about scoring. That's what people need to understand. And they're going to take enough pressure off of each other because you got to respect each of them enough. And that's why I know this is a full basketball team. Because Lonnie's a free agent. Austin's a free agent. Mo's a free agent. Rui's a free agent. All LeBron's money, as I was telling you guys in the previous video, all the money that Bron is represented in having, what we could very well do. Just like, I know this sounds funny, but just like Miami did when Bron left, they gave all that money to Chris Bosh. Instead of diversifying and giving themselves a million pieces, they gave it all to Chris Bosh in some weird way, and they ain't recovered from that since. But nevertheless, that's what the Lakers could essentially do instead of giving it to one player. You could give it to all these guys. And what you would have next season is this team at those guys making the money that you'd be happy with. This is still your team, is what I'm telling you. No, Bron, this is still your team. You just paid all those guys. So they should be able to do what it is your team would be able to do. I don't think this is not a full basketball team without LeBron James. If you look at how the money's set up and allocated and what have you, we got a full basketball team right now, ladies and gentlemen. We just got to understand that, use that. We're still deeper than most of these teams. Right now, without Bron, the team's still deeper than a lot of teams in the league. And we're going to discover that. If Coach Ham doesn't get in the way by doing unnecessary bullcrap with the rotations. That's all. I promise you. You play guys in position tonight, and you're going to have a close game against the Memphis Grizzlies. They think they're going to come in here and play against a little waltzy Laker team. What they're going to find out is every time they drive in the paint, they're going to have a body there. Every time Ja tries to do his little nonsense, he's going to run into somebody. Every time, Dylan Brooks runs into the lane, he go run into somebody. Every time, Desmond Baines decides to do anything outside the perimeter, he's going to feel someone. And they're going to find out they can't score 50 and 60 points in our paint. It's not going to be possible. And that's how they love to attack. They want to go inside out, just like we do. Problem is, just like they do, we got players in the paint that can stop that from happening. So whoever's hitting the three tonight is probably going to have the better success. Problem is, outside of Tyus and Luke, and Dylan Brooks hit 2 out of 4 in the last game, they're cold from behind the arc. Ja, Jaren, Desmond, they weren't really hitting it like that. Now, Desmond, can hit it and will hit it probably against you. So we got to watch him. I think the three-point shot will be something that falls very easily in Memphis for Memphis' team. But at the end of the day, when they try to put the ball, if it don't fall, and they try to put it on the ground, and they try to get in the paint against us, they're going to find out it's not going to be very easy to score against us in the paint. And that's the problem. So I'm fully on board with not saying that the Lakers are expected to win this game. I'm not sitting here telling you guys that, if I'm on the Memphis side, they need to be scared of us. If they do what they're supposed to do, they should get the victory tonight, unfortunately. But this is a Laker team that doesn't know itself, and because it doesn't necessarily know itself, the possibility of things going really right or really wrong, it's all over the place. For all I know, this could be a big game for a guy like Anthony Davis. Vanderbilt continues the same stuff he was doing in the last game, and suddenly, Dennis Schroeder, he's used to playing starting point guard. It's not like we're missing D'Angelo Russell. Technically, we haven't had him. So it's not like we're not used to what we are in position to have. It's going to be, him and Austin Reeves running the point for the most part, and we trust those guys. So it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be actually better than okay if our coach does the right things with the rotation. This team's built to win. It's built to win. When you talk about having shooting, we got it. Beasley and the other guys on our team shot makers. But Beasley's the shooter. Hopefully his shot can fall because it's been wildly inconsistent. But we know how high and how hot it can run up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for 30 tonight. It wouldn't shock me at all. But, at the end of the day, we're dealing with Jaren Jackson. So just like they got to deal with Vanderbilt and AD, we got to deal with him. And he's going to do a lot to make life hard on us. But at the same time, to what degree when he has to deal with AD and Vanderbilt? We may neutralize him. And then it's going to be about Ja Morant. Ja, is your 3 falling tonight? Are you playmaking? Are you driving at AD and Vanderbilt? Are you having success drawing fouls against them? These are things that are going to determine the game tonight. If we do, is it Winyan and Bamba? Are they going to play well? Are they going to be sluggish if they get their number called tonight? Is Rui Hachimura going to go for 1 for 8, 1 for 9? Because if he's having a 1 for 9, we got to sit him, just like Beasley. That's the thing. Offensive guys are not overly superstar talented. They're not going to give you 30 every night. They attempt 15 shots. Sometimes they may make 6. Sometimes they may make 1. Sometimes they may make 14. This is the level that these guys are. So you got to manage them. With superstars, you know they're going to give you 25. You know they're going to give you 35. It's just what it is. But with role players who can score, no. No. You just got to play it by ear, see where they're at. And once it starts going into the 3 for 8, 3 for 9 range, you got to walk away from them because they're going to keep shooting. They're not overly talented, but they are aggressive and they believe in themselves. So you just got to manage them. It is what it is. That's some of the level we're on right now with the Lonnies, Ruiz. They don't suck by any stretch of the imagination. But thinking you about to lean on them like they're superstars and they're going to give you consistent offense while facing superstar defense because Bron ain't on the floor, nah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. So that's what I think, man. It's going to be on Dennis Schroeder to have a good night tonight. He can't be turning the ball over, can't be taking bad, stupid threes. His thinking cap got to be on straight. Some of the stuff that he does is really, really smart. Some of the stuff he does really, really isn't. And so that's what it's going to be about. Can Dennis Schroeder be a good floor general tonight against a very, very superstarish John Morant? You know what I'm saying? That's what it's going to be about. If he has a big game and he's playing really well with the minutes given, I think the Lakers have a good shot. But if he's playing like bad Dennis, DSBS, can't beat Ja that way. Can't beat Ja that way. Even with the length, even with AD balling out, if Dennis Schroeder's trash, we're not getting far. So that's what it is, man. That's kind of why, and I've said this a bunch of times, but it's kind of why I wanted the Lakers to have Scottie Pippen Jr. in rotation by now. I would have been grooming him all season long for these moments, especially since we knew Patrick Beverley, Russell Westbrook, we knew we wanted to move on from him. You should have had this in mind, and we didn't. Now we're leaning on Dennis Schroeder. I'm a big D'Angelo Russell fan, look forward to him, but I also know his health is not to be relied upon, so you got to expect for him to be gone. Now we're down to one point guard and Austin Reeves, who we love playing point guard like ways, but we don't want him running the one because he ain't fast enough. So it's like there's still things this team can do to get better. One of them, call Scottie Pippen up and then try to get Will Barton in here if he'll sign with the Lakers. Hopefully he doesn't want to go back to Denver like I've been saying. I think he probably will. Hopefully he signs with us, seeing an opportunity to get some minutes. Or if our coach would be just willing to have a little faith, play some of the guys he's not playing. I'm always up for playing a little more extra Max Christie. It doesn't hurt anybody to see if Devon Reed can play. I'm up for that. But, it's like starving, man. He don't even trust Mo Bamba. I've been sitting up here waiting for Mo Bamba to come on this team for 2 years. He finally got him in. We can't even use him right. It's like, come on, coach. Remedy that, please, so we don't find ourselves having a perfectly good center and perfectly good players that we just don't get nothing out of. Then we see them go on to be great players somewhere else, and we just look back and say, damn, that coach, he really didn't get nothing out of them dudes. It's a mistake that doesn't have to be made, especially in a circumstance where a whole LeBron James been removed. You got a bunch of minutes to allocate to all these guys. Let's get the most out of them. So hopefully this mindset doesn't turn into frustration. But I've just been very frustrated with our coach all year long. I've been frustrated with our coaches for the last several years. So when you have a situation like this, what you most want is stability with your coach and with your team, to where all the things that you would otherwise worry about should not be a worry. And the only thing you have to worry about is the fact that you don't have LeBron James. But unfortunately enough for us, because we don't have LeBron James, now we get to worry about everything else. Because that's just how this thing has been set up all year long. So, and then it becomes, how healthy do we think AD and Vanderbilt are going to stay going forward with the type of game that they've played, and what we're going to be asking them to do with the stakes being so high. I think there's a good chance our coach is going to want to lean on them for 30 and 40 minutes a game after what we just saw. It's just how he is. Just like he leaned on Malik Beasley for 34 minutes after he went crazy. It's just how he is. So it's like, are we going to be able to stay healthy? This is exactly what I'm saying. Keep a good rotation dose of Winion, Mo, Rui, AD, and Vando. This is exactly what I'm saying. You keep them dudes just in and out, rotating like a spinning wheel. Because otherwise, you're leaning too much on some to wait for them to get hurt and not enough on the other guys who ain't getting the playing time to be better. And it's just, it don't have to happen like that. It don't have to happen like that. All them dudes rotate. And then the guard, same thing. In and out. And if we do that, we keep our guys fresh. We keep ourselves out of foul trouble. We keep the hot hand on the floor. And make it all make sense. Yeah, we're going to beat teams with Bron or not. We're going to win. Because the team is cool. It's really, really seriously fine, the roster is. We just, Got to use the right people at the right time. So that's what it is, man. That's where we're at. Memphis Grizzlies, hot and cold team right now, trying to find their way. They're getting healthier. They are under 100% except for Steven Adams, and I think that's a very big deal. They need Steven Adams to kind of help with what it is we're bringing. Steven Adams really, really creates a lot of problems because he's a true center, as I often like to say. Real centers go up against guys like AD. He ain't a real center. Vanderbilt, I'm not certain if I can say he's not a real center. But what I can say is I'm very comfortable playing him at the 4, and he's a bit undersized for what you would want a center to be. So it's like, this is why Bamba's important. He's an actual center. You know what I mean? Underdeveloped, but an actual center. Doesn't play in the paint, but definitely a real center. And so it's like, can we use him, please? Don't have him walk around here with 5 minutes in basketball play like his name is Damian Jones. Don't do that. Put us in a position to use the talent that we have. Study the guys from when they played very well, because that's what coach needs to see is Mo Bamba highlights and stats from when he was playing 25, 30 minutes a game. And you understand this ain't nobody to just be sitting. Whatever you have in mind, nah, fam, that ain't it. Play him. You know, and I know I'm reiterating the same thing, but it's just because we've gone through this with Wendy Gabriel all season. That's why I'm so frustrated. I see this precedent continuing, kicking the can down the road with different players and the same mentality. Same thing we did 2 years ago with Montrezl Harrell. You see what I'm saying? It's like, as a Laker fan, a lot of my frustrations just simply carry over from previous seasons, and I think that's the ultimate sentiment for our team. We're tired, man, of some of the stuff that we've seen over and over again, and we're super happy we finally got over that. Finally got a team in place, and then, of course, Bron goes down, so it's like, all right, we'll deal with that, but is all of this good stuff really real, or are we just about to lose all of the good stuff, too, because Bron went down? Now, are we just going to lose our focus? We don't believe we can get to the playoffs anymore. That's another thing. It's like, what's the overall sentiment of the team? Do we think that because Bron is out that it's hopeless? And is that going to reflect in how we're approaching these games? Or is the mission still clear, but we still need to win all our games, and we believe we can do that? You know, what's the mindset now that Bron is out? Yeah, so that's what it is. Is this the overall team sentiment? Do they still believe? I don't think there's any reason not to, given the fact the roster is really good. But these are the questions that these people are going to answer as this game approaches and as these next couple games approach. So it's a test. It's a test. I wish D'Lo were able to play. It would feel a lot better if he were able to. But I also don't want him going out there hobbling. I don't think he's the greatest player to play hurt. So, you know, he becomes a real defensive liability. So he's not the guy to play hurt. But you know what I mean? We just got to roll out there with what we got and not be afraid to use them. Don't be afraid to use these guys. I'd be so comfortable starting Lonnie Walker and playing him 30 minutes tonight because I know he can give me 25 points. I know he can shoot well. I know his conditioning is where it needs to be. I saw that in garbage time in the last game. So this is a game I'd be comfortable playing him. Beasley, shoot. If he's shooting, if he's making it, I don't see why we can't continue to play him. Obviously not 30 minutes, but, you know, what I'm saying to you is the team we got is cool. Austin Reeves, I want Austin to start. I've been asking for us to have Austin start pretty much all season. So why would I be upset now that Bron's out and Austin gets a chance to start? That's fantastic. So this is not the worst thing in the world, Lakers. We just got to have the belief that we can still do this. We just got to know who we are and utilize our team properly. And if we do that, Rob is giving us enough. The Memphis Grizzlies are a good team. Maybe we don't beat them. But the rest of these damn teams, yeah, we should beat most of these teams. And I think if we bring it to the Memphis Grizzlies, we might be able to catch them slipping too because they're cocky, immature, and they're lacking some of their size too. So Luke Kennard is the guy I'm paying attention to tonight. Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane. If they're hitting multiple threes, going nuts, we got real problems. Throw Tyus Jones in there too. Those are the three players that if we do get beat tonight, it's probably going to be because all three of them went off. Really, some variation of that, they went off. Obviously, Dylan Brooks. We call him Dylan Bricks on this channel because in the playoffs last year, every shot he took was awful. But he's a clutch player who can drive to the rim and finish a lot. He's going to get to the line like crazy. He's going to get in your head. He's going to try to be a tough guy, a bully guy, get in your mind, whatever type of situation. He's going to try to make it worse. So in my mind, he's the guy that you love to have on your team. But he's definitely somebody you don't want to go up against at all. And so we just gonna have our thinking cap on tonight and be ready for his antics. And as those antics come, don't give the enemy any ammo. Let him be the one getting attacked. Let him be the one getting thrown out the game. Let it not be us. So the atmosphere is gonna be fired up. That Shannon Sharp thing had them really, really humbled. That whole thing, they looked bad after that. All of that, it played in the Lakers' favor as far as I could tell. They were the ones that had to walk away with all the hype about it. So they're gonna want to get some get back tonight. Bron ain't on the floor, so that's gonna make them feel even more confident that they can do that. They know we're missing D'Angelo and how big of a piece he is. They're gonna feel real good. But at the end of the day, they're not the smartest bunch. They're not. I've seen them blow 17 points leads against Philadelphia team that I don't think is the smartest bunch of their damn self. You know what I'm saying? That Boston team handled them comfortably without Jaylen Brown. And Jason Tatum didn't even play well in that game. It was their other guys that was taking care of business against Memphis. Memphis isn't who they tell us they are. They got a lot of growing up to do, and they don't know the wisdom of being humble and why they should even want to be humble. So that's what we're going to have to give them. We're going to have to humble them in this game, in the next game, and in the playoffs where we will likely see them. They need to be humbled, and we have the roster to match up with them. So as long as we can do something with John Morant, which I don't know that we do. When I say match up, we don't really match up there. But everywhere else, yeah, we match up. So don't try Jaren Jackson, he's going to block your shot. And I tell them, don't try Vanderbilt and AD, he's going to block your shot. May the best team win. My name is BDL44. I thank y'all for watching.